Oh, how you doing today? Welcome to Center Square. I'm Pat Laurie. So happy that you could join me today. This is the place where I feature experts that will help you in career, in life, how to become happier. We're going to talk about it. A lot of people are going through transition now. I mean, I just went to the deli last week and saw someone with all the crew now. They don't have masks on, and I'm like seeing the bottoms of their faces. Like, whoa. It's incredible to see everybody's face right now, right? And I find myself like staring at people's teeth. Strange, I know. But isn't it cool to be back interacting in public again with people and seeing everybody and just the animation of their faces? And, it's wonderful to break out and break free. So it's a real time of transition, and we're all trying to find our place. Are we back at work? Are we still behind our computers? What does the future look like for us? Well, today we're going to talk about it. I have a very special guest on the show. He's going to talk about how to own your career and own your life. Welcome to Center Square. You got to own it, baby. So you can own your square. Woo, that's right. You got to own your square. You got to own everything in life, because if you're not owning it, well, where are you going? Hey, welcome to the show, Andy Storch. He is my special guest today. He's the author of Own Your Career, Own Your Life, baby. And he is owning it. I've got mine right here too. See?
Look at that. All right.
It looks like cool. A little bit more orange than yours, but
it does look orange than mine. It might be matching your shirt. Exactly.
I know. I think you are. Andy, I'm so happy that you're here with us, because I tell you something, I have gone through your book, and I'm just like a self-help junkie. I have all self-help books on my shelves, Yeah. But I don't just read, I put things into action. And I think this is what your book is all about. It's taking the knowledge and then doing something with it. So tell me a little bit about why you wrote this book and what it will do for people.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the action. I'm also a personal development junkie. I've read lots of books, and I'm fans of, certain people that I follow, and I'm always, reading those motivational quotes and reposting some of them from time to time. But I see a lot of people that are consuming a lot of that stuff, but not really doing anything with it. And, as you were implying there, it doesn't really matter unless you take action. So I wanted to create a book that would inspire people to take action. But, stepping back to the why behind the book, I've worked in corporate consulting for about a decade now. I've had the opportunity to fly around the world leading workshops for leaders, managers, executives in companies on 4 continents. And I've worked with thousands of people, and I've seen what success looks like, how certain managers and people in companies have become successful, how others maybe have not. And I've also noticed a lot of people sort of drifting through their careers, operating in reaction mode, focusing on what they think success should be, but not really reflecting on what it means to them and what that personal idea of success is, and really not really being truly happy with where they are in their careers. And I think a lot of people get to the end of their career and go, what happened? What was I doing? And how was I spending all that time working for this company or these companies, whatever it may be? So as I was working and I was getting more into personal development and seeing all the things that were going on in the entrepreneurship world, I started seeing this message a lot. And maybe you've seen this too, Pat, since you've worked on your own as well, that if you don't like your work, if you're not happy in your work, you need to quit the 9-to-5 and go start your own business. And I saw that advice a lot of places. And that's something that I actually did, because in 2016, I got really into personal development and started focusing a lot on self-assessment and reflection and thinking about who I was and where I wanted to go, and realized that I had a strong desire to be an entrepreneur, to run my own business, to build my own brand. And I've been working on doing that for the last 5 years. I run 2 podcasts. I hosted a conference. I host a virtual community. But I've also had tons of conversations with people in the corporate world who tell me they have no interest in becoming an entrepreneur, running their own business. They like working for companies, being part of a culture, being part of a team, being part of something bigger. And I totally respect that. And I wanted to create a resource for people who, maybe don't feel completely fulfilled in their careers, don't want to go run their own business, although that's certainly a possibility, but want to be happy in their career. And I think people deserve that, to be happy and to be fulfilled. And so I created this book to help inspire people to truly take ownership of their careers, which I think will drive a lot more fulfillment, and also prepare for the future of work, the future, opportunities, future layoffs, future challenges, whatever may come. A lot of people are just not doing the things to set themselves up for success, to prepare. So I wanted to create a book that would be a resource that would motivate people to take action with clear instructions and guidance, as well as references to many other books that they can go read. And that was the goal.
Well, you obviously had a clear goal, and you're very passionate when you speak. And I really, that's one thing that I really appreciate is I'm someone that wanted to take control of my life. And I started my own business in 1996 when a lot of people weren't people weren't starting their own businesses. But
Yeah.
I think so. This book is basically you're not trying to convince people to be an entrepreneur, but you're trying to maybe get people to think like an entrepreneur in some ways, because when you sort of break away from the company culture a little bit and
Yeah.
have a little plan for yourself. I mean, is that what you're trying to do here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, taking full ownership means taking full responsibility for everything going on in your career, and often say that it means treating your career as if it's a business and you are the business owner. So you are responsible for everything that goes on. I mean, certainly there are many things in your career that are outside of your control, right? What happens in the economy, what the senior executives in a company decide to do, if there are layoffs or growth or hiring, changes in departments, whatever that may be. There's a lot of things that are outside of your control. But taking ownership means focusing on the things that are in your control, setting a course, getting clear on where you want to go, setting a vision for your career, setting goals and taking action on a regular basis to achieve those, and doing the things that set yourself up for success in the future, like investing in continuous learning, building your network, building your personal brand, which I know is something that you are really big on and help people with, Pat. Because that's going to help set you up for success in the future, no matter what comes, so that when the boss says, hey, we're changing things up, or when you decide that, this job is not really right for me, I'd like to be doing something different, either have a different boss, different type of company, maybe I want to move from finance to marketing, or I do want to try to start my own business, then you have the tools and the ability to go out and do that, and that you actually take action and you don't sit there waiting for someone else to give it to you, that you take ownership and responsibility and take the initiative to go make that happen.
Yeah, I think too many times we're waiting for, it's almost like when you're in college, you're like, you've got the plan, it's kind of laid out, now you're executing it, and you're waiting for someone to tell you, okay, is it okay that I do this? Is it okay that I do that? And there's a certain structure you have to follow, and you can go up the steps like this. But, that's just not being proactive. And that's probably not going to get you, that's probably going to find you like laid off somewhere at some point.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, how do people get there then? Where do you start? What if you're in a position and you're like, this is good, but I want to start to sort of think about what my life might look like if I'm not at a corporation, or if I want to take a passion and sort of develop something on the side. Where do you start? Where does any of it start?
Well, I think it all starts with self-reflection and really understanding who you are and where you want to go in your career and your life. And amazingly, this seems simple, but amazingly, a lot of people don't
know, though. That's
right. They don't know. Most people don't take the time to sit down and think and reflect about their life, and especially about their career. And that means, find a quiet space, turn off emails and texts and distractions, take out a journal, go to the park, sit on a bench, whatever it may be. For me, it was a lot of early mornings with coffee and a journal, reading books, and then reflecting and thinking about, who am I? Where do I want to go? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the things I enjoy doing? What energizes me? What do I not like doing? What do I not want to be doing? If I could really design my own career, my dream career or job, like what would I be doing right now? What would I be doing in 5 or 10 years? And start to write that down, and, realize and then how much of it is realistic. And then what do you need to do to get there? So once you reflected on those things, and maybe even get some feedback on that, right? Talk to friends, colleagues, family, hey, what do you envision me doing with my career? What do you see as my strengths? What could I be doing more of? Where do you think I'd be happier? Because they may see things in you that you don't even see in yourself. You don't realize, right? Then you can start to craft a vision for where you want to go in your career and gain clarity. I work in finance now, but it's not really what I want to be doing. I'd rather, be doing something more like marketing, or maybe get into HR because I love working with people, or, maybe I want to do more like marketing, video production type stuff, like what Pat does. It looks like a lot of fun, right? And that's what lights me up. So it's something you could start doing on the side, and you could start making a plan. And you may not know exactly where you want to go. I mean, for most of my 20s, I was definitely drifting. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was trying lots of different things. But the point is, the more clarity you have, the easier it is to make decisions when opportunities come your way or challenges pop up. You know, let's say a recruiter calls with a new job opportunity, or maybe you get laid off and you need to start over. The more that gives you more clarity, it makes it easier to make those decisions, and it makes it easier for people to help you. If you tell your friends and your colleagues or even your manager, this is where I want to get to in my career, then they can actually give you coaching and advice. But if you have no idea, then nobody can help, right? They're not going to have an idea how to help you.
And I tell you what, it's so painful too, if you've ever had the experience of being let go. And this happened to me, but I want to tell you that when you were talking earlier, it just reminded me of, you have a vision when you start your career. So I had this vision that I wanted to be in New York City, top of the news. I was a news reporter, did news anchoring for a while. And I was like, oh yes, I want to be in the number one market in the country. And I just had this idea like, okay, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. But internally, I really didn't want that. I thought I wanted that. I had this vision of, oh yeah, that looks like what success is to me.
Right.
But internally, I was not feeling it. And your body gives you clues. Your body will tell you, don't go down that path. That's not resonating. That's not authentic.
We've also got to be careful too, because there's a lot of influence coming from around us, from society, from social media, and we often set goals based on what we see other people doing. I know early in my career, in my 20s, I thought I wanted to be CEO of a big company one day. I just wanted that power and prestige, right, and like the money and all the stuff that comes with it. And as I developed more in my career, I realized that I value freedom and family and the ability to make an impact more than, say that title or respect or the things that come with it. And we also have to look at what are the trade-offs that come with that too, because you've got to decide how you spend your time along the way, setting your goals and then taking action. If you want to be CEO of a company one day, or you want to be the top news anchor in the biggest market in the country, you're probably going to be working 60 to 80-hour weeks. I mean, there's rarely exceptions to that, right? And there's nothing wrong with that if that is your goal and that's what you want to do. Whereas if you say, I have kids and I want to be home for dinner with my family every night, that's the most important thing to me, then maybe you're not climbing the ladder as fast as some other people, but you get to spend that time with your family. And again, there's no wrong answers. I want people to be honest with themselves and with others about what your goals are, what your values are, what you truly care about, and then pursue a career and a life that matches that are aligned with your values and your purpose and your vision for where you want to go. And don't worry about what other people are doing. You might have friends that are moving up the ladder fast and they're vice president way before you ever get there, but they're probably working a lot harder, or they're in a different situation. They're on a different journey. You have other friends who are just still hanging out and going to concerts and delivering pizza for a living. Everybody's on their own journey, right? And you just need to worry about you and focus on you and what you want to do and what's most fulfilling for you in your career.
I mean, do you think that you can really design, and do you think that you can, following your passion is a good idea? I've heard this, bandied about quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is that a good plan? Is that a strategy?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of debate now around this whole idea of follow your passion, right? And I do think that there is merit to looking at, hey, what am I passionate about? What do I care about? What really lights me up? And can I pursue a career in that? But it may also not be a realistic thing that you can really pay the bills with, right? I mean, if your passion is painting, that's cool. And there are a few people that make money from painting, but it's not something that a lot of people are making money from as a career. So maybe it's more of a side business or a hobby. I'm a big fan of following your curiosity, especially if you are younger, if you're in your 20s or 30s and you're curious about a certain thing. Can you spend time researching it? Can you start a side business or even take a job in that field? And remembering that you've got a lot of time, right? People are working longer, I think, than ever before, into their 70s and 80s sometimes. And if you find something that you truly love, then you might not mind working long. You might want to work longer. Like, I don't anticipate ever retiring as long as I'm doing something that I love doing, right?
I know, it's so funny because I think about it all the time. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to retire because I love video storytelling. That's in my blood. It's in my genes. It's in my DNA, and I'll
Right.
always be hunting for a story somewhere.
Yeah.
But not everyone has that. I mean, I find it very fortunate that I found something I absolutely adore, love, and am passionate about, and can work on without feeling like it's work at all because it's what resonates with my soul.
Right.
But let me ask you about, in the book, you talk about, I mean, intention and goal setting, which is super important, but
Mm,
you talk about making smart goals. Cause, I
yeah.
think it's important to like delineate, okay, you might have a goal, but if you don't have a roadmap to get there, are you going to be able to fulfill that goal? Can you
That's
talk
right.
about your idea of smart goal? I like that.
Yeah, there's a famous quote that a goal without a plan is really just a wish, right? And you're probably not going to achieve it. And I've had many of those visions, dreams, and goals in my life. In my book, I tell the story about growing up. I loved sports and especially baseball, and I loved the Chicago Cubs. And my dream was to one day be a professional baseball player. And I played Little League Baseball, but I didn't ever really go to my parents and say, you know what, I need a mentor, an extra coach. I want to practice more because this is my dream. I just kind of went to the practices, went to the games, had fun. And you know what? I never made it to the pros, not even close, right? And I may not have had the skills anyway, but I didn't have a shot because I didn't have a plan in place for how to get there. So it's really important that when you have that vision, whether it's I want to be vice president or I want to move into HR or I want to start my own business and become an entrepreneur, that you have a plan in place for how to get there and you set really smart goals. And SMART, many people are familiar with this. It stands for specific, measurable, actionable, relative to what you do, or is it realistic, that's something you can achieve, and time bound, which is really important too. So classic example being, if you just say, I want to get in better shape, well, that's not really a specific goal. Like, how do you define that? How do you know if you're in better shape? Or I want to get healthy. Like, how do you know? Versus you say, I want to lose 25 pounds in 6 months by going to the gym 3 times a week and cutting out sugar 4 days a week or something like that. That's very specific. It's something that you can measure your progress towards. It's actionable. You can take action on it every day and every week. It's realistic. It's definitely something you could do. It might be hard, but it's realistic, and it's time bound. You're going to do this in 6 months. You're going to show up 3 times. So the career version of that might be, I want to get a promotion in the next 6 months by talking to my manager, getting feedback, and taking on 3 extra projects that I wouldn't normally take on. Well, that's specific. You want to get a promotion to manager or director in the next 6 months. You can measure it because you can look at the number of projects you're taking on. You can look at the times you've had those conversations with your manager. It's actionable. You can go and ask your manager for coaching and feedback, and it's measurable and it's time bound, right? You know that you've got that timeline and you can check in regularly. I love having a journal to check in on the progress of my goals, to go back and say, okay, I said I wanted to get to this by this point. How much progress am I making towards that? Am I falling behind? Am I taking action? You and I have talked, Pat, about publishing books. I published my book last year and you're working on your first book now. I was checking in regularly on my progress, and I got to a point where my book had been on hold for a little while, sometime in September last year, and realized that I had been telling myself in my goals and my affirmations all year long that I would publish a book in 2020. And so if I didn't start moving on it quickly, it wasn't going to happen. And so I created a clear timeline for how I was going to make it happen. And I published my book on November 16th, 2020, right? I got it done because I was very specific about what I wanted to do and laid out a clear timeline for how to get there. But if I just said, I'd like to write a book and publish a book one day, like, how do you ever check in on that? How do you ever measure that? And that's where a lot of people, I think, fall off and don't end up achieving their goals.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I love that you gave the example of how you can be proactive in your company. If you want to get a promotion, you're going to do, ask for extra assignments, measure it, and give yourself a time and all that. And I think you
Right.
could use that same advice even in your own business. If you want to, reach a certain revenue point, if
Absolutely.
you want to maybe go in a different direction and start having different clients, like nonprofit or whatever, how do you go there? How do you begin to get there? And I really love that, if you don't take that action and if you that accountability, and if you don't perhaps even hire a coach to help you, because I'm a big believer in hiring coaches to help you
Yeah,
get to that finish line. And
absolutely.
congratulations on the book thing, because let me tell you something. Oh my gosh. I've been creating content my whole life. Writing a book is like such a different beast. It's a
It's
different
different.
animal,
It's tough,
and
right?
it's a huge accomplishment. But so how are you, like, loving your life is what I want to know, because you have
Yeah.
a very full life. You've got two
Yeah.
podcasts. You,
Yeah.
you know, tell me about your life and what's going on and how you are loving your life.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that a lot of people don't realize that happiness and fulfillment, even engagement at work, is really a choice, right? I talked about people drifting and operating in reaction mode, and everybody is in a different situation, right? Terrible boss, terrible company, great boss, great work, upbringing, family, friends, relationships. We all have different situations. We're all on a different journey. But I do strongly believe that we do get to choose our own happiness and fulfillment, and we can stop dictating that, or outsourcing that to other people. So if you're not happy with your job, what can you be happy with? And if you can, maybe you can change it. There's an old saying that, if you're not happy with your situation, change it. And if you can't change it, just change your outlook, right? Change your perception of that situation. So I'm loving my life because I've designed a life that I love. It's not 100% my dream life where I want to get to yet. I've got big goals for where I want to, things I want to, build with my business, income, all those things haven't quite gotten to, but I have visions and dreams for where I want to get to. I've decided that, I'm building this business, so I'm going to put time into it. I'm running 2 podcasts and building a brand and that sort of stuff, but also family being really important to me, that I'm going to be having dinner with my family every single night during the week, that I'm going to spend time with my kids on the weekends. And I set boundaries so that I don't schedule calls during those times. I make sure that we are spending time together, and certainly not perfect by any means. But I try to maintain that so that I'm doing those things, that we travel, that we meet up with friends, that I go to the gym on a regular basis to stay healthy, right? To meet my health goals. And I also have a journal. I write down my gratitude every day and focus on that for all the things that I have that are great, because I think a lot of people spend a lot of time focusing on what they don't have, and lose happiness because of that, when you can choose to focus on the things that you do have. And this reminds me of a quote I just heard this morning, which was that a lot of people think that happy people are happy because, or what is it? A lot of people think that happy people are grateful because they're happy, but it's really that they're happy because they're grateful. I'm really messing it up now.
You know what? To paraphrase it, but I think I got the spirit of it, what you were trying to go for. And
Yeah.
well, what happens though, especially in your personal situation, when you have health issues that come up that maybe derail you or sidetrack you or take you off, the path? Tell me how you handle that, because I'd love to, talk about that if you're.
So the quote is, it's not happy people who are grateful, but grateful people who are happy, right? No matter what the situation. And I love that. Thank you, Lori. I like the focus on what you do have. And that takes me, you brought up the health journey. So around the same time as I published my book in November, I was also diagnosed with testicular cancer. And I was experiencing a ton of pain, but I got the book done and got it published. And then I went into surgery a couple of days later. And then I went through a bunch of treatment. I did chemotherapy for the cancer, which had spread to my stomach and my neck. And it was kind of an ordeal. And it was definitely the biggest challenge of my life, not something that I would have chosen. And there were some really, really hard moments. And I'm so grateful to my wife and my family being here. My mother was around and helped take care of me. And I had tons of friends and people in my network who reached out and supported me. And part of that's because I was posting and sharing the journey on LinkedIn and other social platforms along the way to keep people posted. But a couple of things that really got me through that, one of the things I talk about in my book is about mindset. And one of the things when it comes to really owning your life and that ownership mindset is the belief that everything in life happens for you instead of to you. And you focus on the things that are in your control and stop worrying so much about the things that are outside your control. Well, getting cancer was something that was essentially outside of my control. Like I couldn't stop it, right? But I could focus on what was in my control, which was doing research, reading, learning as much as I could about cancer and nutrition, putting healthy things into my body, not just relying on doctors and medicine and stuff they were doing, but doing a lot of other natural stuff. And there's a ton of things I did that's like a whole nother conversation about how to manage cancer.
Yeah, you're an inspiration. And I think your journey is so interesting because you also took control of that journey.
Yeah.
So you applied what you wrote about in the book to your personal life, to your health journey. And I find that fascinating. That's probably going to be your second book, Andy. What do you think?
Yeah, it is I've written down the outline for the second book, but it really was about owning that whole experience and owning that journey and taking responsibility and saying, hey, I didn't choose this, but I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to do everything I can to beat it and get through it and come out healthier. And along the way, there was a lot of tough moments. And a couple of the things I focused on was, one, the nature of impermanence. This is not going to last forever. I will get through it. And number two was gratitude. I wrote down two things that I did every single day, even on the hardest days. Was one, I meditated every single day. I've meditated 550 days in a row, something like that, for at least 10 minutes. And number two was writing down gratitude. And it was a great reminder that no matter how bad or tough or challenging things are in life, we always have things we can be grateful for. The food that we eat, the family around us, friends, a roof over our head, a cup of coffee in the morning, cool weather, whatever it may be. I would write down my gratitude every day, and I would start writing down my gratitude for this cancer experience and say, I'm grateful for cancer. I'm grateful for this experience. And someone asked me later, a friend of mine reached out and said, I'm reading your book. I saw that you said that you believe everything happens for you and not to you. Do you believe cancer happened for you? And I didn't have to think about it very long to say, yes, I do believe that. Because I think when you think things are happening to you, then you're more of a victim. But when you believe it happens for you, you own it. And I do believe it happened for me because it gave me an opportunity to become more empathetic towards others who are going through serious health issues. And it gave me an opportunity to talk on stages like this about how to get through cancer, how to get through challenges like this, and an opportunity to hopefully help and inspire more people, because there are going to be millions more people who go through exactly what I went through, unfortunately. And I want to be in a position to be able to help them. And when we go through challenging situations, whether it's a health crisis like that, a divorce, relationships, losing a job, you're now qualified to be able to help others who come after you, to help them and inspire them and mentor them. And that's why I believe I got that opportunity and why I love talking about it today.
And I think, thank you for sharing. And I do think that that is also, to sort of flip it, a networking opportunity as well, because, and I like that you said that you have the right to talk about it if you've lived through it. A lot of people think you have to be experts,
Right.
and it's like, what the heck is an expert? Okay.
Right.
I mean, we all have degrees in something, right? But it's not just going to school and having an academic degree. It's the school of life, right? So it's your personal experience and what you've gained from that and what you can share to others about your journey. And I think that's invaluable, and also probably a really good networking opportunity. So you don't necessarily have to think about networking in the traditional sense, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
I connected with so many other people who had been through similar experiences. I mean, just yesterday I was messaging with a guy who saw one of my posts and said, oh, I saw you had testicular cancer. I had testicular cancer 3 years ago. And, we started chatting, and he's kind of in my industry, and we're setting up a call for this Friday. And I'm not saying that you would ever, I'm going to take advantage of health issues to turn it into business, but it is a conversation starter like anything else, right?
It's a connecting point. And that's what you want to try to do, is connect with others through your story. And that's what I'm trying to tell people when they go on, when they do videos, when they post them. People will connect with you if you're real and you start to be vulnerable, and you actually can be, human, and a little bit like your off-camera self. These are real moments. We are real people. We're not robots, and I think that the world is changing for the better in that way. I think post-COVID, I think COVID really helped us. But tell me a little bit about what you see in the workplace right now, post-COVID. What is the world going to look like? Some people are going back to the office. Some people are doing like a hybrid thing. What do you think? What are you hearing?
So we are entering an interesting time in the working world for a few reasons. One, technology and COVID have changed everything, right? The old days of you have to be in the office. So many companies and industries were like, if you're not in the office, you're not working here, right? And a lot of that's changing. And as we record this in mid-June 2021, there are a lot of companies that are sending people back to the office. There are also others that have decided we're not sending people back till 2022 or maybe never, right? So it creates new opportunities, right? And it's new opportunities to really own your career and think about what you want to do. Because some people, I talked to lots of different people, some people love the working from home life and never want to go back, right? And now you can look for an opportunity with a company or an organization that is going to let you do that. I have a friend in Chicago who is, she's single and she's tired of being home by herself. And she's like, I can't wait to get back into an office. I want to work for a company where we will be in the office, right? So you get to choose. You're going to have more choice and more opportunity. We're also going to see more of a hybrid workplace, right? And so we're going to have companies that have some people in the office, some people are working remotely, which is going to be a big challenge for organizations to be inclusive of the people who are working remotely and make sure everybody feels like they're being treated equitably and fairly, right? And then speaking of that, I think the other big shift that we're seeing in our working world and our society is that, what we saw from the rise of the social justice movement in 2020 as a result of the death of George Floyd in May 2020 is still going on. And there is such a big movement towards inclusion, equity, and belonging that people are demanding it, and organizations are having to make a shift as a result. And so I think we're going to see a lot more inclusiveness, equity, psychological safety, letting people be really who they are, which again is another amazing opportunity for people to really own their careers and think about, where you want to work, what do you want to do, who do you want to be, who do you want to show up as? When it comes to setting a vision and really connecting to a purpose, sometimes it's helpful to think about who's the person that you want to be, or who do you want to become, and how do you want to show up in the world, and what do you want your brand, your reputation to be? I know Pat, you're big on helping people with that brand and reputation. We have a better opportunity than ever to really develop that and define that, work where we want to work. And, finally, I'll just say, I hate predicting the future. Like, who knows what's going to happen, right? But I think we're entering more of a gig economy where people will be doing more project-based work, which creates more opportunity to try different things. And I think we're entering a renaissance too. We're hearing about talent and labor shortages already all the time. In 2020, I was constantly talking to people who were telling me, I just got laid off and I'm looking for a job. If you hear of anything, let me know. Now I'm getting messages from people in my network saying, we're hiring for this position. If you know anybody, let me know. I think we've seen a big shift, and I think there's a lot of hiring. There's going to be a lot of, people moving around. And this is a moment in time where we really get to think and take advantage of this, to think about where you want to go, what do you want to do with your career, with your life, and take some action and do it, because the opportunity is there. You're going to look back later on in life and think, wow, 2021 was the year of mobility. It was the year of renaissance. It was the year for so many people to move and do whatever they wanted. And I'm glad I took advantage of that by defining who I wanted to be and taking action, versus I regret that I just stayed in that, same rut that I was in. So take action, because the opportunity is there.
Well, that was a perfect way to end the interview, because you are so inspiring. You are filled with incredible information, and it's obvious that you speak to many different groups, and you really got a handle on what's going on out there. And I believe you, and I believe exactly what you said about the renaissance happening, because everyone is sort of undergoing their own personal renaissance. And I think realizing that we got to excuse me, figure out what exactly it is we want in this life, because we only have this one time to go around. We got to make it count. We got to own our lives. We got to take control of our careers. And you know what? That can lead to a lot of happiness and fulfillment and joy, frankly. And, I say go for it, right?
Absolutely. You only get one life, as they say, right? So go out and try stuff, take advantage. You never know where it might lead. And even if things don't work out, at least you tried, right? When you get to the end of your life, what are you going to wish that you had done? What are you going to regret more? Playing it safe or taking that chance? And I think people, you think of that, you hear about that book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. The top regret of the dying is that I wish I had lived a life more true to myself. And this is an opportunity. This is the wake-up call to go out and follow your dreams and do what you really want to do.
Absolutely. Andy, thank you so much for joining me. Can you tell us where people can find the book, Own Your Career, Own Your Life?
Yeah, so the book, Own Your Career, Own Your Life, it's available on Amazon, of course. And I have a lot of free resources on my website, including the 5 steps to owning your career and the top 3 questions to ask when you face a big challenge. These are questions that I asked myself when I was hosting a conference that got canceled because of wildfires, with the questions I asked myself when I got diagnosed with cancer, the questions I ask myself when I'm facing any challenge. And there are plenty of other resources available on my website, ownyourcareerownyourlife.com/bonus. ownyourcareerownyourlife.com/bonus. And of course, you can check out my podcast, follow me on LinkedIn or anywhere else. Thanks so much for having me on, Pat.
Oh my gosh, Andy, thank you so much. And good luck with the book. It is really amazing. And it's also like a reference that you can just kind of open up and be like, okay, I need a little guidance on this.
Yeah,
let me go there. And so I'm going to be referring back to your book a lot, Andy. Thank you so much. That's right. You can find that book on Amazon as well. And Andy, good luck, and we'll check in with you soon.
Thank you, Pat.
Best to you. You know what? You got to own it, right? You got to own your life. You got to take control. If you have a dream, you got to go after it. Now's the time. I think we all learned in COVID that we don't want to wait around any longer, right? We don't want to wait for life to happen to us. We want to take control of that life and make some changes so that you can live your happiest life. Thanks so much for joining me this week on Center Square. I'll see you.